The fluorescent lights in the recovery room at Chicago Memorial were buzzing, that low, irritating hum that gets under your skin when you haven't slept in 2 days. I was propped up on 3 pillows, my body wrecked from 36 hours of labor that ended in an emergency C-section. My daughter, Nora, was tucked against my chest in a hospital blanket, 6 pounds and 4 ounces of perfection. She smelled like new life and hope and everything I thought my marriage was supposed to be. My husband, Connor, was standing by the window, scrolling through his phone with both thumbs. He wasn't in the worn hoodie he'd promised to wear for the ride home. He was in a fitted navy blazer, his hair freshly styled, wearing the cologne I'd bought him for our anniversary, the Tom Ford one, the bottle that cost more than my hospital copay. "Babe, great news," he said, without looking up. "Tyler and Megan got us into Alinea tonight. The tasting menu. They pulled strings with the sommelier, it's a 12-course thing. My mom's already at their hotel getting ready." I shifted Nora carefully. The incision across my lower abdomen screamed in protest. "Connor, the discharge nurse is coming in an hour. We're supposed to go home. Together. Your mom was going to bring those meals she prepped." He finally looked at me, flashing that wide, effortless grin, the one that had stopped me cold at a rooftop party in Lincoln Park 3 years ago. Right now, in this room that smelled of iodine and exhaustion, it felt obscene. "Elena, come on. This reservation took Tyler 4 months to get." 4 months. And my parents flew in from Phoenix specifically for this. They want to celebrate. It's a celebration dinner for Nora. "A celebration dinner for Nora," I repeated slowly, "at a restaurant. Without Nora. Or me. You'd be miserable there anyway. You can barely sit up." He walked over and squeezed my shoulder, the gesture of a man checking a task off a list. "I'll get you an Uber. A nice one, the black car. You and the baby will be home in 20 minutes. I'll be back by 10:30 tops. An Uber." The word came out flat. "You want me to take our 2-day-old daughter home in an Uber, while you take my car to a 12-course dinner?" "Our car," he corrected, and something cold flickered behind his eyes. "We're married, Elena. What's yours is mine, remember? Or is that only when it's convenient for you?" I stared at him. This man I had chosen. This man whose name was now hyphenated with mine on our daughter's hospital bracelet. He was standing in a recovery room, arguing about car ownership, while I held fresh sutures and a newborn. "You know what your problem is," he continued, his voice dropping to that low, patronizing register I'd been hearing more and more over the past year. "You make everything about sacrifice." I sacrificed too, Elena. I gave up my life in Phoenix. I moved to your city, your world, your family's orbit. Everyone looks at me and sees Elena Reyes, Mitchell's husband. Connor, the guy who married up. Do you know what that does to a man? The words landed like a slap. Not because they were cruel, Ma. I'd heard variations before, but because of the timing. He was delivering a grievance monologue while I was bleeding through surgical gauze. "Get out," I whispered. He mistook it for surrender. The grin came back. "So we're good? I'll call the car for you. Honestly, you'll probably pass out the second you get home anyway. You won't even notice I'm gone." He leaned down and kissed my forehead. Dry. Mechanical. Then, he picked up the keys to my Range Rover, the one I'd bought with the bonus from my promotion to VP of Development at Reyes Capital, my father's real estate firm, and dropped them into his jacket pocket. "Love you, babe. Kiss Nora for me." The door clicked shut. The silence was deafening. Nora stirred against my chest, her tiny mouth searching for something. I looked down at her face, so new, so unaware of the wreckage her father had just left behind. "It's okay, baby girl," I murmured. "Mommy's here." 40 minutes later, a nurse named Denise helped me into a wheelchair. She carried Nora in the car seat my mother had dropped off the week before, the one Connor was supposed to install in the car he was currently driving to a Michelin-starred restaurant. The Uber driver, a quiet older man, helped us into the back seat of a black Suburban. The car smelled like leather, cleaner, and someone else's perfume. My phone buzzed as we pulled onto Lakeshore Drive. A photo from Connor, a gleaming amuse-bouche on a slate plate, amber lighting, his parents' smiling faces blurred in the background. The caption, "Wish you were here, this is insane." Something broke inside me. Not dramatically, not a scream or a sob. Something structural. A load-bearing wall in my chest quietly gave way, and the whole architecture of my marriage collapsed into dust. I opened my phone. Scrolled past my sister. Past my best friend, Valerie. Past my mother. Dad. I pressed call. It rang once. Mija. My father's voice, deep, warm, tinged with the accent he only let slip around family. "How's my granddaughter? Are you home? Is that husband of yours taking care of you?" "Daddy." My voice was steady. Terrifyingly steady. "I'm in the back of an Uber with your granddaughter. Connor took my car to Alinea with his parents. I just had a C-section 2 days ago." Silence. I could hear the ice in his scotch shifting. "He left you at the hospital?" "Yes." "And took your vehicle?" "Yes." Another pause. When my father spoke again, his voice had changed. The warmth was gone. What replaced it was the voice that had turned a small construction company in Pilsen into a $2.3 billion real estate empire. The voice that had stared down union bosses, hedge fund sharks, and a Senate subcommittee without blinking. "Tell me everything. From the beginning." So I did. Every word of the argument. Every dismissive gesture. The text with the photo. The kiss that felt like a stamp on an envelope. I delivered it the way he'd taught me to deliver quarterly reports: clean, factual, devastating. When I finished, the silence stretched for 5 full seconds. The Range Rover. "Your name on the title?" "Sole owner." "Bought before the marriage." "The condo on Lakeshore?" "Mine." "Prenup is explicit." "Joint accounts?" "Chase checking, about $340,000. Schwab brokerage, around $1.4 million. He has full access to both." "His income?" "He runs a branding consultancy. Mitchell Creative Group. Revenue maybe $200,000 a year, most of it from 2 clients, Hartwell Properties and Lumen Media." I heard a pen scratching. My father, who ran a company with an AI-driven analytics department, still kept a legal pad in his nightstand. "Listen carefully, Mija. Do not speak to him tonight. Do not answer calls. Do not reply to texts. Lock the door, deadbolt and chain. I'm calling Ray Castellano. He'll be at your place within the hour. You do what Ray tells you. He speaks for me. Understand? Ray Castellano. My father's personal attorney for 22 years. My godfather. The man who had structured the Reyes capital empire to be legally untouchable. I understand. First, we secure you and Nora. Second, we freeze every dollar he can reach. By sunrise, he won't be able to buy a cup of coffee. Third, he paused. We dismantle him. What he did tonight wasn't carelessness, Elena. It was contempt. He believes because you just had surgery, because you're vulnerable, because you love him, that he can do whatever he wants. We're going to teach him otherwise. Daddy, he's Nora's father. He's a man who sent his wife home from a hospital in a stranger's car so he could eat a 12-course meal. He doesn't get to use that title tonight. Do you want this? Because once I start, I don't stop. I looked at Nora, asleep in her car seat. I thought of Connor's words, "I gave up my life." I thought of him choosing scallops and sommelier pairings over holding his daughter on her first night home. Do it, I said. All of it. Good. Hold your baby. Ray's on his way. Ray Castellano arrived at 11:47 p.m. with 3 associates and a paralegal carrying 2 aluminum cases of equipment. My living room became a command center in minutes, laptops on the dining table, a secure hotspot humming on the kitchen counter, legal pads everywhere. Elena. Ray hugged me, brief, fatherly, then switched modes instantly. Status. Has he contacted you? 7 calls. 4 texts. I haven't responded. Good. Keep it that way. Every unanswered call builds our case. He turned to his team. Lucia. Draft the emergency ex parte motion, temporary protective order, exclusive use of marital residence, temporary sole custody. Grounds: medical abandonment of a postpartum surgical patient and a newborn. Marcus, call our contacts at Chase and Schwab. Freeze the joint accounts immediately, citing preservation of marital assets. Revoke all supplementary credit cards under Elena's primary accounts. I want it done before midnight. The gears turned, calls were made, documents were drafted. I sat on my own couch, feeding Nora a bottle, watching my marriage get surgically dismantled by people who did this for a living. At 12:15 a.m., my father called back on speaker. Ray. Update. Financial lockdown in progress. Protective order will be filed at 8 a.m. Building security has been briefed, his key fob is deactivated. Good. Now listen. Mitchell Creative Group, his little firm, his 2 anchor clients. Hartwell Properties is managed by Jim Hartwell, who owes me 3 favors from the Riverwalk deal. Lumen Media's CEO is on the board of the Chicago Cultural Alliance with me. Both contracts will be terminated by 9 a.m. tomorrow. Cite concerns about the principal's personal judgment and brand risk. Ray nodded slowly. That eliminates roughly 80% of his revenue. His office lease? Month to month in the Reyes Capitol building on Michigan Ave, I said, the realization hitting me like cold water. He'd been so proud of that address. He had no idea my family owned the building. Terminate it, my father said. 30-day notice. Morality clause. By 1 a.m., the intercom buzzed. Connor's voice, tight with confusion. Elena? My fob isn't working. The doorman won't let me up. What's going on? Ray pressed the button. Mr. Mitchell, this is Raymond Castellano of Castellano in Vega, representing Elena Reyes Mitchell. You are not authorized to access this residence. A temporary protective order has been filed. Legal documents have been sent to your phone and email. I strongly advise you to contact your own attorney before attempting further contact. The silence was long. Then Connor laughed a high, disbelieving sound. You're joking. Ray? Seriously? This is insane. She's my wife. That's my daughter up there. Let me talk to Elena. Further contact will constitute a violation of a court order. Good night, Mr. Mitchell. Ray released the button. Connor's muffled shouting echoed through the intercom for another minute before building security escorted him out. My phone lit up with a final text. You're making a huge mistake, Elena. This isn't over. I showed it to Ray. He photographed it, time-stamped it, and added it to the file. Actually, he said quietly, for him, it very much is. The next 72 hours were a controlled demolition. My father's moves were surgical, relentless, and executed from 3 time zones away. Connor's clients terminated their contracts by Tuesday morning. The Tribune's business section ran a brief mention by Wednesday. Mitchell Creative loses major accounts amid founder's personal upheaval. His office lease termination arrived Thursday. By Friday, Branding Magazine ran a blind item that everyone in Chicago's creative scene decoded in minutes. Connor hired a lawyer, a loud, aggressive divorce attorney named Steve Paletti, who specialized in high-conflict cases. Paletti's first move was to call Ray and demand mediation, claiming I was conducting financial terrorism against a loving father. Ray's response: Your client abandoned a surgical patient and a 2-day-old infant to attend a dinner party. We have the Uber receipt, the hospital discharge timestamp, and his own text messages. Mediation is not on the table. Then came the discovery that changed everything. Ray's forensic accountant found it in the Schwab brokerage statements, a pattern of small transfers over 14 months, totaling $387,000, moved from the joint account into a personal account at a bank in the Cayman Islands. Connor had been reporting the trades as losses while pocketing the capital. Classic siphoning, Ray explained, laying the statements across my dining table. He'd execute a trade, report a loss to you, and redirect the funds offshore. It's not just marital misconduct. This is fraud. There was more. In his home office, the one I'd always respected as his private space, we found a locked drawer. Inside, credit card statements showing monthly charges at the Peninsula Hotel on nights he told me he was working late. Receipts from a jeweler for pieces I'd never seen, and a stack of printed emails between Connor and someone named Tara. The emails were devastating. Not just for the affair, I could have survived that, but for the calculation behind it. She's completely blind, one email read. Her father practically prints money. Once the baby's here and she's dependent on me emotionally, we accelerate the plan. Tara baby, 6 more months and we're in Tulum with enough to never work again. I read it 3 times. Each time, a different part of me died, the part that had believed in late-night talks and Sunday morning pancakes and a man who said I do and meant it. I called Valerie, my best friend and coworker at Ray's Capital. I needed someone who wasn't a lawyer. Val, he was planning this. The whole marriage. All of it. I know, she whispered. And then, Elena, I need to tell you something. At your baby shower, I went looking for the bathroom and I heard him on the phone in the hallway. He was laughing and saying something like, "The old man has no clue, she thinks I actually care about the branding business." I thought I told myself I misheard. I didn't want to upset you when you were 8 months pregnant. I am so sorry. Another knife. Another person who had seen the truth and looked away to protect me. I couldn't blame her. I'd been looking away for 3 years. It's not your fault, Val, it's mine for not seeing it. No, she said fiercely, it's his. 100% his. What are you going to do? What my father taught me. When someone shows you who they are, don't argue, adjust the portfolio. The Forbes interview was my idea. Not as a victim's tell-all, but as a profile. Elena Reyes-Mitchell, the youngest VP in Reyes Capital's history, new mother, navigating crisis with corporate precision. The journalist, a sharp woman from the Tribune's Sunday magazine, came to the condo. I held Nora. I wore soft cashmere, not armor. I spoke about leadership and motherhood and building systems that endure. When the inevitable question came, your personal life has become very public, I was ready. 2 days after my C-section, my husband drove my car to a 12-course tasting menu with his parents. I took an Uber home with our newborn and a fresh surgical wound. That wasn't a misunderstanding. That was data. And when you receive data that contradicts your assumptions about a partnership, you don't argue with the data, you act on it. The piece ran on Sunday. By Monday morning, it was everywhere. The phrase "you don't argue with the data" became a meme. Connor was dubbed the Alania husband on social media. His name became shorthand for selfish partners everywhere. Connor's response was predictable and vicious. Through Paletti, he fed a tabloid a story claiming I was emotionally unstable, that my father was a controlling patriarch pulling strings, that I was using Nora as a weapon to destroy a man whose only crime was wanting one night out. He produced a grainy photo of me hugging a male colleague at a company event and implied an affair. We responded with the Cayman Islands bank records, Tara's full identity, a fitness instructor he'd met at his gym, and the emails detailing their plan to steal from me and run. The Tribune ran the counter-story. Documents reveal alleged financial scheme behind Reyes-Mitchell divorce. The court hearing was on a gray Thursday morning. Judge Patricia Webb, a veteran of Cook County Family Court, had reviewed every filing. Connor sat with Paletti, looking hollow. His blazer didn't fit right anymore. Paletti tried his best. "Your Honor, my client made one mistake attending a dinner, and his wife's family has used that single evening to systematically destroy his livelihood, his reputation, and his relationship with his daughter." Judge Webb removed her glasses. "Counsel, I have before me evidence of $387,000 in undisclosed transfers to an offshore account, documented evidence of an extramarital relationship, and correspondence explicitly discussing plans to exploit marital assets. Your client didn't make one mistake. He executed a 14-month strategy of deception. The dinner wasn't the crime, it was the moment his wife saw clearly. She granted everything: sole custody, exclusive use of the residence, full asset freeze. Connor got supervised visitation 2 hours every other week at a family services center. As we left the courtroom, my phone buzzed. An unknown number. A text from Connor, sent from a borrowed phone. "You took everything from me. Everything. I have nothing. Remember that." I showed it to Ray, he documented it. Filed for a permanent restraining order, doubled my security detail. 3 months later, 2 detectives from CPD's Financial Crimes Unit came to my office. Connor had been arrested. After losing everything, he'd used his knowledge of my family's business contacts to run a fraudulent investment scheme targeting people in our social circle. He'd scammed 4 families out of a combined $600,000 before one of them went to the police. Wire fraud. Identity theft. Attempted extortion. He was facing 8 to 12 years. I felt nothing. Not satisfaction. Not pity. Just a vast, clean emptiness where the anger used to live. 6 months after the divorce was finalized, I stood at a podium in the ballroom of the Art Institute of Chicago. The room was filled with 400 people, investors, politicians, philanthropists, and a scattering of celebrities, all there for the inaugural gala of the Nora Reyes Foundation, dedicated to providing financial literacy programs, emergency housing, and postpartum support for women escaping abusive or exploitative partnerships. My parents sat in the front row. My father caught my eye and gave a single, almost imperceptible nod. "Thank you all for being here tonight," I began. "We're here because someone in this room, maybe many someones, knows what it feels like to trust the wrong person. To wake up one day and realize the life you built was a set piece designed by someone who saw you as a resource, not a partner. I know that feeling. I lived it. But I'm not here to talk about what was taken from me. I'm here to talk about what we're building." I announced the first round of grants, $3 million, to domestic violence shelters, job training centers, and a revolutionary partnership with Northwestern's medical school for free postpartum mental health screening. The applause was thunderous. Afterward, on the terrace overlooking Millennium Park, Valerie found me with 2 glasses of sparkling water. "You did it, Elena. You actually did it. You turned the worst thing that ever happened to you into the best thing you'll ever build." I looked out at the city, my city. The skyline that had witnessed my humiliation now glittered like a promise. Nora was upstairs with my mother, probably being spoiled with a cashmere blanket and whispered Spanish lullabies. I thought of the Uber ride. The smell of someone else's perfume. The photo of the amuse-bouche. The text that said, "Wish you were here," from a man who never wanted me there at all. That woman in the back seat, exhausted, bleeding, holding her newborn in a stranger's car. She was gone. Not erased. Transformed. I took a sip of water and looked at the lights. "You know what the best part is, Val?" I said quietly. He thought leaving me at that hospital was the beginning of my end. He had no idea it was the beginning of everything. The wind off Lake Michigan was cold and clean. I smiled, not for anyone watching, not for any camera, just for myself. And for the first time in years, I believed every word I said.